Hello agents, welcome back to Secret HQ Reviews, the only place that won't punish you for flipping off your neighbors by cutting off your finger. Assassin's Creed Mirage was developed by Ubisoft Bordeaux and published by Ubisoft. Now just a little standard housekeeping off the top to inform you that as always I'll strive my best to avoid any spoilers, though there might be some minor spoilers in this video. If you haven't played Valhalla, now is the time to skip ahead because there will be spoilers dropped momentarily about the ending of that game. Don't get mad at me if you choose to watch anyways. With that out of the way, let's dive right in. Assassin's Creed Mirage takes place about 9 centuries after the events of Assassin's Creed Origins and 11 years prior to the events of Valhalla. When we first met Basim during the events of Valhalla, we learned that Basim is actually an ancient god reincarnated. Mirage explores Basim's story as a young man living in Baghdad on a journey of self-discovery, and that's pretty much where I'll leave it at that. Now, this time, Ubisoft decided that it was time to scale back to the grandiose games such as Origins and Valhalla and tell a little bit more of an intimate story in a much smaller geographic area. Graphically, Mirage is absolutely gorgeous. It's beautiful in that there's definitely very interesting sites to visit and explore in the expanses of the wilderness, but by and large, those areas are fairly empty. Most of what you'll see here and experience will be in the cities, much like the original games. There's actually a graphics mode called Iconic Filter that gives Mirage the same look with a blue filter. The more recent games have had a heavy reliance on RPG elements such as level-locked armor and weapons, as well as enemies and areas. You can try and go to those areas or fight those bad guys, but it likely wasn't going to end very well for you. The story also had some reliance on character leveling if I recall correctly, but now progression is a much more linear experience. Leveling up basically happens as you progress through the main story, and there's also way less reliance for hoarding weapons or gear. For example, I use the Sands of Time equipment, which is part of the pre-order, almost exclusively right to the end. You can, however, upgrade the equipment to 3 different levels, but that's about it. I also found that the requirement or the need for money was far less this time around. It was really only used to replenish my tools. On the note of currency, there's also other types of currency that can be found in the form of tokens, and they can be used to pay for distractions, to get better rates at shops, or reduce your notoriety level. Having a good amount of these on hand can also help with some of your missions, especially late in the game, so keep that in mind. The main city is big and busy, and it offers up a variety of interesting people and narratives, and even some cool side missions and Easter eggs that you'll be able to enjoy. If you're paying attention, that is. You'll also quickly notice that the residents of the cities are acutely in tune with those faces that they're seeing on the wanted posters. They can make it extremely difficult for Basim if he gets caught pickpocketing or his crimes have been witnessed by enough people. There's a handful of interesting side activities you can also work on. First one are the world contracts, and they're just small quests with optional objectives. You'll be rewarded with favor tokens. Tales of Baghdad has Basim playing witness and assisting in certain issues of the era. The Lost Books, which in my opinion are super cool, and it has Basim solving puzzles, and they brings back the books to the House of Wisdom. This is also where you're going to earn more tokens. The history of Baghdad is sort of like the original codex from the previous games, where you go to an area of interest and you open up more information about that particular historical landmark. Mysterious shards are also spread out throughout the game. There's only 10 of them to collect, but they will help you open special gear. Another noticeable change is that there's a much heavier emphasis on stealth, but you can go in balls to the walls if you wish, which is mostly how I approach it, but the game really shines with the stronger emphasis on the stealth side. I'm just not very good at it. Basim's fighting mechanics are also simplified considerably to light attack, heavy attack, and parry. Even the big tank-like enemies, who are only vulnerable to specific parts of their bodies, can be taken care of with relative ease. The nice thing, though, if you do find the fighting to be a little too easy, you can always up the level a little bit. Now, admittedly, I didn't have much use for Basim. I was even actually a little disappointed that he was the central focus of Mirage. But after spending more time with him in this game, I have a greater appreciation for him and his character. I still think he's a little less compelling than the Kenways. I think those are still the 2 best people that have ever been in the game. I would like to go back to see more of them, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. With Basim, I think we're just scratching the surface of who and what his journey is. And I gotta say, I'm actually really looking forward to seeing where we go next, if my suspicions are correct. I really enjoyed my time with Assassin's Creed Mirage, and I'm looking forward to getting back to the game and completing more of the side quests. I guess the question is, how will the gaming community react to a greatly scaled down experience? I know that some of my friends in this space are quite happy with the massive shift, and I get that. These games are really hard to do in a reasonable amount of time to meet embargo deadlines, but the general gaming populace isn't under the same restraints. As I understand it, Mirage was originally supposed to come out as DLC for Valhalla, but quickly ballooned into something larger, which resulted in a full game release. I'd like to see them go back to the larger, grander scale titles, but I suspect this is probably not the future for the series. I also missed the heavier focus on RPG elements, but again, I love the original games and they weren't super heavy on the RPG. I can kind of take it or leave it, I guess. I do think this is a great game, and it's an awesome entry into the franchise, and I do believe that fans will very highly enjoy themselves. Assassin's Creed Mirage comes to PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series S, X, and PC on October 5th. I'd like to thank you all for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and all that jazz, because there is a lot more on the way. Remember, always keep the shiny side up and the slippery side down. I'll see you at the next one, folks.